Investors want to see proof, not possibilities. An investable entrepreneur will be able to show adequate proof to investors that their business concept is on the path to success. Doing so will de-risk your investment opportunity to potential investors and increase your chances of closing a deal. For an investor, seeing proof that your concept is in demand is a vital part of their decision making. The best form of proof, of course, is paying customers. But when you're at the pre-seed and sometimes seed stage, this is often not possible. But the good news is that you can start to provide investors with the evidence they need long before you're a revenue generating business. In most cases, this will take the form of a series of product market fit experiments. The goal with these experiments is to collect evidence that proves your product is desired by the market and that you can deliver it to that market in a way that makes a profit. This can then be detailed in your business plan and presented to an investor in your pitch. There are 4 types of product market fit experiment. The first type of experiment is where you validate the problem. During this experiment, you attempt to prove that the problem you're trying to solve is important enough to your customers that they'll invest time and money into solving it. This can often be determined by surveys, focus groups, and interviews with your ideal customers. But be warned, these need to be considerable in size to be useful. It can't be a handful of your friends. As an absolute minimum, you should have a sample size of 30 to bear any statistical relevance, but ideally you should aim for feedback from 100 or more. Secondly, you need to validate the solution. Here you look to understand whether your proposed solution meets with customers' expectations, is an improvement on what already exists, and is clearly and meaningfully different to what else is on the market. Some of this can be desk research where you provide an analysis of your competitors' solutions, but for the most part, it will be best determined through user testing, surveys, and focus groups. Third, you need to validate the price. Your goal here is to authenticate your proposed revenue model and confirm that your strategy delivers value to both you and your customers. There are a number of ways to achieve this. You can use surveys and interviews again, or you can start pitching your product as if it exists, gathering expressions of interest and building a waiting list. Finally, you need to validate the market. Using the evidence gathered in the previous experiments, your aim is to define an ideal client and check that they form a sufficient market from which you can make a profit. With desk research, you can begin to figure out whether or not there are enough people in this market niche to achieve your goals. When conducting these experiments, you must do so with complete impartiality if you're going to get the best results. Don't let your own bias skew your conclusions. If anything, it's best to go into these experiments with the mindset of trying to disprove your idea rather than prove it. This approach will mean that when you do prove there's a need, it's genuinely the market and not your bias that has defined the problem and approved the solution.